So today, for our second ever BNI interview, I'm here with Alan Underkofler.
Hooray.
Tell me about your business, Alan.
My business, I do credit card processing. So I help small businesses and mid-sized companies save money to process credit cards.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty straightforward.
It's very straightforward, highly competitive, lots of competition, and a kind of a sleazy, mucky industry.
Sleazy mucky?
Yeah.
Explain.
Yeah. In credit card processing, I think a lot of companies have this way of manipulating what they're telling their customers, and they'll tell them one thing, they say they're going to save X, Y, Z, and then lo and behold, a couple months later, they haven't really actually saved anything, or maybe they've even increased their rates. So that's very common in our industry, and I like that, actually.
Is it like a complicated contract? Is that how they hide it, or do they just adjust it?
They just adjust it, yeah. So it is, there's a lot of different things that happen in credit card processing. Sometimes people will lock them into a contract for 5 years. Sometimes they lease equipment to them. So kind of like, in the old days where you used to lease your telephone, they still do that with credit card processing. It doesn't make any sense. And then it ties it into their credit, so they're kind of locked into it. They can't get out of it. So there's a lot of that still going on with some fairly large banks still do that. And I don't do any of that. I don't lease any equipment. I never have. I give away terminals for free. And then once I put somebody into an agreement for set pricing, I never adjust that pricing. It's always the same.
So are they just making a bundle off of people? Is
They
that the
are.
difference?
Yeah.
It's just nobody sees behind the curtain, and so they're just getting dragged through this.
Yeah, a little bit. So business owners in general are busy. We're all extremely busy, right? We're busy people. So the last thing we want to do is analyze our merchant statement and see what we're
Right.
actually paying. So what I find is that, my favorite customer is a customer that says, I'm getting the absolute lowest rate. There's nothing you could do. Because typically those customers haven't really looked at their statement in years. And then I'm able to come in and save them 20 or 30 or 40%. And sometimes that's, a lot of money. Sometimes that's, $500 a month. Sometimes that's $50 a month. Sometimes it's less. Sometimes it's more. But that all adds up. And I look at it as if I'm able to save a business, $500 a month, that's the cost of maybe a large billboard in their town for advertising where they could draw in more customers. And that's what I really like.
Or another employee, maybe.
Or
even.
another employee or more help or, yeah.
Which means a day off for some
Exactly.
people.
Yeah, exactly. Which is everybody probably needs. Yeah.
So when I have this favorite Thai restaurant that we're going to go to later and
Yeah,
have
can't
lunch.
wait.
And I go in, it is kind of like a debit card system almost. I have to stick my card in. I have to say yes, yes, no, no. She can't take my credit card from the table. It totally annoys me. You have a better system than that.
I have different systems, yeah.
Okay.
So it just depends on what the customer needs and how they want to process cards. There's also, in credit card processing, it's a changing environment. So it's going to be, the direction that we're going is that we're never going to hand our credit card to somebody else. We're going to always keep that in possession. So what you're describing is probably what's going to happen in the years to come, where you're no longer giving your credit card, it's going off to somewhere else, and then somewhere, somebody's scratching that code off or copying it, so that's part of what's
I'm
going on.
behind the times.
Not necessarily, but it kind of have to look at it, but we're not really there yet. So I'd like to see kind of, what the restaurant's doing and what they like about it or don't like about it, and then see what I have that might make it better experience for you and the restaurant.
So what about credit cards on my phone?
What about it?
I can use the
You
credit
can.
card to do it. Although I never, by the time I get to the few real retailers that do it, I forget I have that
Yeah,
option.
yeah.
Do you offer systems like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You could use Google Wallet or iPay or anything you want. Yeah.
Oh, that's super
Yeah.
cool.
So all of our terminals do that as well.
What else do you do that the others don't do?
Customer service is the biggest thing. So I'm a big believer in answering my phone. So unless I'm talking to another customer or off on a mountain somewhere in the middle of nowhere, I'm going to answer my phone. And I think a lot of people are really surprised by that. So customers that call me and they get me right away and I answer their question, whatever it might be, and usually it's really something small and simple. And then they're on their way to do other things. They're not waiting for me to call back. They're not leaving 10 messages for me to call back. I think that is unusual these days. I don't think people really answer their phone anymore.
If they're using a big bank for their credit card services, they're probably not getting
Yeah.
somebody
Their
picking
big
up
their
the phone.
bank has no idea what to do with credit card processing, so they're referring it to another department or another company like myself. So usually they're referring that out, or it's another department, they don't really know anything about it, but they're just getting a little bit of kickback from that, so they want to encourage their accounts to use them. So it's another
That's so
revenue
funny.
source for them.
That's
Yeah.
really funny.
Yeah.
It's not, but it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you encounter somebody, what is the most common kind of savings that people see when they use your services as opposed to the services they have now?
As far as what do you mean common savings?
Like, is there an initial, most of the time, do people save with you?
Always, they always save with me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what do those savings look like? It goes from about here to here, what is
It's a
that?
wide range. It all depends on what they're currently paying now and also what type of pricing structure they're on now. So in credit card processing, there's two major ways to price, but there's a lot of other oddball ways to price as well. So first step is to really look at their statement and try to figure out exactly what type of pricing structure they're on now and then what they're actually paying. And then based on that, I could do a line by line comparison and show them what they could save. So like I said, sometimes that's only $5 a month. And for a lot of companies, that's not really worth changing. Yet sometimes it is because they're seeing me, I'm in their store or I'm in the shop, I'm in their restaurant. I have a vested interest in their business versus somebody they've actually never talked to.
How long does that process take
To what?
to analyze, to
Yeah,
look
one
at?
day.
One
One
day, that's
day.
it?
Yeah.
How much time for the store owner does it take?
None. So all the store owner has to do is actually give me their statement, which is kind of tricky for some store owners because they don't actually have their statements or they haven't had them in years or they used to get them in the mail, now they don't get them anymore at
They
all.
don't have their statements?
That's pretty common, yeah. So the first step sometimes is me picking up the phone and calling their credit card processor they currently use and saying, I represent this company and we have got our statements in a long time. I'd like to get one. Can we have it emailed? So first I get the emailed statement to the business owner. They forward that to me. And then I take that, usually within 24 hours, I turn around and I have a proposal for them.
Nice.
Yeah.
No fine print.
No fine print. Yeah, nothing crazy. My agreements, there's no contract. You could leave me with me if you want to. If 2 months later you decide I'm an awful person, you don't like me anymore, you can void it without any penalty and move on.
Nice. Sounds
Yeah,
pretty straightforward.
Pretty much.
So
Yeah.
how do people get a hold of you?
They can email me, they could Facebook me, they could any way they want to.
Okay, sounds
Yeah,
good. We'll
yeah.
put that on the screen then.
Yeah.
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 Anything else you want to say?
I don't know. I think my big thing with credit card processing is I know when I first started, I remember driving around and thinking every single company has to process with somebody, right? But the reality is most of those people that are processing with somebody, they haven't seen that person since they signed that contract. Whether that's been 6 months or 5 years, they haven't seen that person. And I'm more of the person like, I want to see you. I want to be in your business every few months, or I want to talk to you every few months and see how things are going and see if there's anything I can do for you outside of credit card processing. And that's what I'm really looking for.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thanks.
Yeah.